welcome back to another episode of the Into the 99 podcast, where we've got 99 cards because Commander's number one. I am your necromancer with all the answers, Necrozak, joined by my two good buds, Dan and Salty. Gentlemen, how are you doing this morning?
Pretty good. It looks like it might storm out later, which excites me a lot. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Outside of it being like blistering hot, I'm okay. Daniel, yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. The new set was released this weekend, so I built a lot of it. Like I said, I wasn't really interested in buying a lot of the product. I wasn't going to gamble on the packs. There's a lot of like really dud packs, but there's a ton of really, really fun things. As soon as we hit the uncommon slot in the new set, I was so excited. So I actually spent a lot of the week just in my free time looking at things, making like concepts of decks, and then I spent the last few days just building and stuff. It was really, really nice. It was a nice, relaxing time. I've been in such a teardown mode of these old decks that weren't working, so it was just really fun to get back into building and stuff. I've got a lot of new decks that I'm really excited to show, like especially like my friends, but also some of the people here and everything. But yeah, I've got some decks I think you'll really, really like, Zach.
Cool. I'm pumped to see him.
Speaking of that, this is one of them. I also hope everyone else was having a good weekend as well, and thanks so much for listening. I'll let Zach quickly get just everything out of the way of who's bringing the show and to rate us, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so as always, if you like what you hear, make sure to give us a 5-star review if you feel like we're worthy of that on any of the platforms that you're listening to us on. And since we're still new on Spotify, if you can leave not only a review, but a review, but also a like typed out review, so that way we come up in the algorithms a little bit more and the show will be suggested to other people. We want to thank our sponsor, Abyss Proxy Shop. If any of the cards in the deck list today that you like but don't want to spend actual dollars on, you can go to abyssproxyshop.com, use our promo code IT99, and I'm sure you'll be able to find a version of there that is significantly cheaper.
Yeah, you'll want to use that for the land base in this one.
As always, no one should spend money on dual lands.
That's true.
Spend I don't even think a fraction, like less than a fraction, to get a sweet proxy.
Yeah. I don't know. As long as people like this deck is actually a really, really good point for that. So last week at the end of the week, I had said I was going to make my illegal deck tech, and that one's still coming. That's a really fun deck. I put it together, played it this weekend, and had an absolute blast with it. It doesn't seem broken, but I don't do anything attacking with those rabbits, so it's kind of how you play it. I could see how it could be broken. This one, however, is like a really, really good example of like why you should like proxy responsibly. I have two versions of this deck. They'll both be in the show notes and everything. This week we're talking, by the way, Miirym Sentinel Worm, which is, in my opinion, spoiler, the strongest dragon commander they've ever printed. It is bar none insane. But I have a budget version of it as well that is $146, and it functions awesome. I'm going to put a second, like I said, I'm going to just rebuild the second version of it as my people want to try a dragon deck. Here you go, give this one a try deck. This is phenomenal budget, Commander, especially for like a very generally expensive tribe to make work.
That's pretty fair. I'm actually like really excited to see what this deck has in it, because for you to say this is like one of the most powerful dragons they've printed as a commander, we've got two that are insane in the Dragon and in Ramos, and I guess you could add Tiamat in there too.
Yeah, and those are all great, and this is 10 times stronger.
Oh, and I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't, Prosh or Corvold.
Oh yeah, so like first and foremost, the fact that they gave us a temur dragon. We've got red, we have blue, and we have green. Regardless how you build this deck, it's very, very good colors, because generally the downside to dragons is they cost a lot. They're very powerful creatures, but they cost a lot. But with our green access, we've got like so much ramp. With our blue access, we have so much like protection and counterspell if we want to build it that way, as well as like the draw things to get us there in the early game. Like you can stuff in like your brainstorms, preordains, all of those things. So you have a lot of like utility in these colors, and it's not as hard to make a 3-color dragon deck as it is a 5-color, right? With something like the Dragon Tiamat, you are really going to be restricted to trying to get that commander out. Dragon has its Eminence ability, which is really strong, but I just think that this is just stronger. It's a lot more straightforward. Like I didn't build what I just said you could do. Didn't put any of that in the deck. There's like 44 creatures in the deck. I'm pretty sure you can guess what most of them are.
Mhm.
It's a pretty silly deck. So let's go into Miirym and why this is, in my opinion, the craziest dragon commander they ever printed. It's 3, 1 green, 1 blue, 1 red for a 6/6 dragon spirit that has flying and ward 2, which is just insane stats. If it ended there, this would still be a very strong commander, or not commander, but dragon card at 6 mana, flying, ward 2, 6/6 for 6. Those are great stats. But it has, whenever another non-token dragon enters under your control, create a token that's a copy of it, except the token isn't legendary if that dragon's legendary. So you have the ability to get, like, Sakashima is one of the strongest commander cards that we've gotten in recent years. Zach puts it in every deck that he can. If it could go in Carador, it would be in Carador.
Yes.
Right? Sakashima is an amazing effect because it lets you clone your commander or any of the other, like, legendary things, right? Getting around the legendary rule is a difficult task a lot of the time. And this is just stapled onto your commander, not even on cast. It's not whenever you cast another dragon, it's when it enters. It's just insane. So, like, spoiler again, Panharmonicon's in the deck. That means that every time you cast something with Panharmonicon out, you will have your original copy and 2 dragon copies.
That's a lot.
It's too much, we'll even say. So we're going to get into, like, why I think this is there's nothing really clever about this deck. It's just straight dragons. It's, like, really fun dragons. If you want to play a dragon deck, this is the deck for you. Like, Miirym is just crazy. So, like, we'll go into my enchantments first because they're important. So, number 1, we have Acolyte of Bahamut. It's 1 and a green for one of the new legendary enchantment backgrounds. Commander creatures you own have the first dragon spell you cast each turn is 2 less. That's awesome. You want as many dragons in as you can to get that effect off of, like, doubling them. So 2 less is wicked reduction.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Someone want to take the next ones?
Yeah. So the next one is Colossal Majesty. 2 and a green for at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card.
Yep.
Seems like one that basically just says at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the next one is good.
Oh, I'm gonna take it.
Please.
It's Dragon Tempest. It's 1 and a red for an enchantment. It says whenever a creature of flying enters the battlefield under your control, it gains haste until end of turn. If it was just that, I still feel like it'd be super powerful in this deck, but there's still so much more.
Yep.
Whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. Something tells me you're going to kill people with this card more times than not.
Frequently. It's absurd. It's a really strong card. Like, the other thing too is that the commander on its own is already kind of expensive to kill. The ward 2 makes it really difficult to remove, especially early game, right? Everyone's trying to save their resources as much as they can. On top of that, you do have the best political tool in Magic, which is threats of violence. Because you can just say, like, if you kill Miirym, I'm going to swing dragons at you until you're dead for the rest of the game. Because
that is something you can do.
Short of Miirym being out, Mirrym's just doubling the dragons. The dragons are still coming. It doesn't matter if there's 1 of them or 2 of them. I'm still going to kill you with them if you kill my commander early games. So, just letting you know. It's really good. Elemental Bond is a card I actually almost killed myself with yesterday. So I may take it out of the deck. It's 2 and a green. So whenever a creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. It is really, like, it's a great draw engine in this deck, but it's not May. You must draw a card.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yep. And the next card does pretty much the same thing. Garruk's Uprising is 2 and a green. When it enters, if you already control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample, which is awesome. And whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters under your control, draw a card, which again, I didn't have this one out, but this one will also lead to your potential death with how many you make.
Yeah.
And somebody want to take this last one?
Yeah. So the final enchantment is Kindred Discovery. It is 3 double blue. As Kindred Discovery enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. And whenever a creature of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card.
I love it. It's so good. Oh, it's so good.
A family that welcomes spirits of all feathers.
Like I said, we've got blue in this deck, so we have, like, access just to so much instance. The same with red. Like, we've got really good colors for instance. So I'm gonna quickly jump into our instant section. There's 1 card. It's Breath Weapon. 2 and a red. 2 damage to each non-dragon creature. Instant. I really took advantage of the colors with this one. I really went out of my way to take advantage of the instance that I had access to.
For sure.
I really like the flavor text in it. In the name of Tempest, Lord of Battles, you will die honorably in righteous fire, which is pretty much what happens in this deck.
Yeah.
And then I'm just gonna we'll finish the sorcery off as well, just because we're here. Zach, you want to take number 1, Slothy number 2?
Sure. I don't know how to say this name.
Arenicus.
Arenicus File Duplication. Oh yeah, I like this card a lot.
Yeah.
It's 3 and a blue sorcery. You create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except the token has flying and isn't legendary if that creature is legendary. Yeah, wonderful. Amazing card.
Does anyone want to guess what this targets?
I'm gonna go ahead and say your commander.
Yep, it sure does. This is just like Sakashima on a sorcery at uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love it.
And next up, we've got Tempt with Discovery, 3 in green. It's got Tempting Offer. Search your library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield. Each opponent may search his or her library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield. For each opponent who searches a library this way, search your library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield. Then each player who searched the library this way shuffles it.
The trick with politicsing this is you're going to be ahead, and in a lot of games it kind of doesn't matter if you're ahead. You're already playing land ramp, but we're not playing land ramp. We have like instant and 2 sorceries in this deck. We're not killing it on the land ramp stuff. So you really got to politics this one. And my favorite way of politicsing something like this in a threatening deck is, listen, if you guys take it and stuff, I'm going to go get like pretty basic-y kind of things. Like I'm probably just going to get even 4 basics. You guys go get whatever you want, but I won't swing at everyone for 2 turns. Everyone's got 2 turns where I don't kill you guys. And it sounds like a great deal, but I don't care about doing anything early. I'm just amassing dragons. So it really, really works out that way. But yeah, I'm just trying to, again, I did the same thing I do in every deck. I could have killed the table. Well, no, I could have killed the table really early, but I was just amassing dragons to see how ridiculous of a board state I can get. And it was a lot. But yeah, tempting and discovery, like I like the tempting offer cards, and I like politicsing. So I like telling people, hey, I won't kill you if you do this. It is a threat. Zach's not wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good way to get around the table, introduce yourself to new people.
Yeah.
Threats of fear and violence. We'll do our artifact section next because I think it's pretty straightforward, but I think it's got some cool stuff in it. The first, we've got an Arcane Signet, which a phenomenal reprint at like 50 cents uncommon slot is just awesome. It's 2 mana for tap, add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Great card for any deck. Monocolor, not as great, but still a good rock.
It's a pretty good rock, yeah. Then we have a Tarka Monument. 3 for an artifact. You can tap it to add red to your mana pool, or you can pay 4, a red and a green, and it becomes a 4/4 red and green dragon artifact creature with flying until end of turn.
Everything is dragons.
Everything is dragons.
Then we've got Carnelian Orb of Dragonkind, 2 in a red. Tap it to add a red. If this mana was spent on a dragon creature spell, it gains haste until end of turn.
Awesome card.
Pretty cool.
All of these Orb of Dragonkinds I really, really liked in the new set. Like, I think they're commons from the set. They're wicked.
Mm-hmm.
We have commanders here, by the way, as well. Last night, someone was complaining that this deck is like full of duels, and they're like, you have a bunch of 3 mana rocks. Those aren't good. I'm like, well, I need a lot of mana. So, because I was also saying to the group, like, I was trying to be reasonable with this deck, and I think it's like a pretty reasonably like straightforward dragon beatdown deck.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to like explain to people like, oh, this is my reasonable dragon deck. Turn 1 mana crypt, jeweled lotus into, you don't do that. You chill down.
Yeah.
So 3 mana rocks are fine.
Especially if you've got a mana value of 4.19 in this deck.
Is that my average?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you've got a lot of really high cost stuff in this deck, and it just, your early game, you're just building up board state to be able to, once Mirrym's out, you want as many dragons to hit the field before people realize it has to die.
Mm-hmm.
This one is a harder one to politics around people not killing, because it's real strong.
Yeah, I could see that being a problem.
Yeah, we have Commander Sphere. It's 3 mana. Add 1 mana of any color in your commander identity. And sack it, draw a card, late game great, early game great.
Yeah.
Next we have one of my favorite cards, Conjurer's Closet. 5 for an artifact. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile a target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control.
Yeah, it's a real good card.
Wonder why
Seems
this one's in there.
suspicious in this deck.
Oh, it's a real good card. We'll get into Conjurer's Closet and why I like it so much later, but it goes crazy. It goes crazy. The next one also very important in this deck. It's Decanter of Endless Waters. I said when we saw it in the spoilers that I really liked it. 3 mana, you have no max hand size, and you tap to add 1 mana of any color. It does 2 things we need in this deck, because like I said, I almost drew myself out in this deck yesterday with, again, 1 instance and 2 sorcery. So that tells you how powerful those enchantment ETBs are.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And then we've got Dragon's Horde. 3 mana for an artifact. Whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, put a gold counter on Dragon's Horde. You can tap it to remove a gold counter from Dragon's Horde and draw a card, or you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color.
Again, awesome utility in this deck.
Following that up, we have Herald's Horn, 3 for an artifact. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Probably going to be dragon. Creature spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card of the chosen type, you may reveal it and put it into your hand.
This deck was just pardon me. This deck was phenomenal at refilling my hand. At no point was I like stuck on things. Like I played it in person, and then I played 1 online game with it. In both games it performed the exact same. Like I just was full of cards in my hand every game. Like it played awesome. There's a lot of things, and Herald's Horn is such a good card. It again being so cheap right now is awesome. Like $4.99.
Mm-hmm.
The next Orb of Dragonkind we have, it's the Jade Orb of Dragonkind, 2 and a green. It's an artifact, taps for a green. When you spend it to cast a dragon creature spell, it enters with an additional 1/1 and gains hexproof until your next turn. That is just such a good protection for your commander.
Mm-hmm.
And for any dragon that's like, again, there's a lot of utility dragons in the deck, obviously, but it's just really, really good for any dragon that you want protected. Generally speaking, the downside, if you don't have something like Dragon Tempest out, is that everyone has a turn to try kill it, and this makes it much harder to do that. What do you guys
I like this card.
The green one? No worries.
Next, we have Lapis Orb of Dragonkind, 2 and a blue for an artifact. You can tap it to add a blue. When you spend this mana to cast a dragon spell, scry 2.
Yeah.
Also seems good.
Yeah.
MVP card, Panharmonicon, 4 mana. It's probably one of the best cards you could cast in this deck. 4 mana. I say every week that I like Landfall and I like Enter the Battlefield. So Panharmonicon, 4 mana. If an artifact or creature entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Yeah, it's real good.
Seems like a problem.
It's real good. There's a new card in the set, by the way. I can't remember what it is. Just a spoiler. I was going through the binder, and I don't remember reading it, so it might be from like one of the commander decks. But if something enters under an opponent's control, you get that ETB effect too. That's a killer card.
That seems wild.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a problem for sure. I'll let you guys finish this list off, and I'll try to find that.
Sure.
Okay.
Next up is Soul Ring. 1 mana, tap it to add 2.
Pretty good. After that, we have Swiftfoot Boots, 2 for an artifact equipment. Equip creature has hexproof and haste. Equip for 1.
Yeah.
And are you doing it?
Oh, you can do it.
Okay. And finishing up this section, we have Vanquisher's Banner, 5 for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1. And whenever you cast a creature of the chosen type, you draw a card.
Also really good. This deck's got a lot of draw in it. I've lost my attention span trying to find that card. If everyone's wondering, pretend I didn't say it, but it exists. I promise. It's not just in my mind brain.
Okay.
So yeah, so this is right now the list before creatures, and I don't know. What do you guys think so far at the moment here?
Pretty good.
I mean, yeah, it seems already really solid. We know it's a dragon deck, so you have all the utility that you kind of need for a specific creature type deck or specific tribe. And I really like the Orbs of Dragonkind.
Oh, I think they're awesome.
Yeah, those are very good.
Yeah, I really, really put a lot of use into them. This one. So when we're talking about these cards, we're generally speaking from now on going to assume it's a best case scenario. So we're going to look at it in a worst case of it's just the card. In a best case, it's at a minimum 2 of them if your commander's out. And you'll see pretty quickly how fast this gets out of hand. So number 1, we have Bogarden Hellkite. It's 6 double red for a 5/5 dragon with flash and flying. And when it enters, it deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. so it's already an 8 mana, 10 damage. Like if you have your commander out, 8 mana, deal 10 damage, have 10 power toughness on the board. If you have a Panharmonicon, it's like 10 damage every enter, and then you'd get 3 of them, so you've got like 30 damage for 8 mana cast. Bogarden Hellkite alone shows like how silly this deck can get, because again, a 10 mana divided as you choose among anything is already really good. Like a Fireball for 10 is 11 mana, and it doesn't come with 2/5/5 flying bodies at instant speed
that are dragons, which are,
yeah. It's like I said, Bogarden already shows like how strong something like this can be, just because of your enter the battlefield is stapled onto your commander. So anything that increases it is awesome, like that Panharmonicon. But you get 2, so any of your ETB dragons like this, like it's just double. You have Panharmonicon essentially from the command zone for their effects.
Yeah, as soon as I saw some of the, I've looked at some of the creatures in this list already, and I was like, I saw Bogarden Hellkite, and I was like, gee, many Christmas.
Yeah. We also, someone take this one, and then I'll talk about the next 2, because they're weird interactions.
Sure. I'll take this one. So next you got Braid's Conjurer Adept, 2 double blue for legendary creature Human Wizard. It's a 2/2. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player may put an artifact, creature, or land card from their hand onto the battlefield. It's pretty good with a deck with a CMC as high as Dragon decks tend to be.
Well, we also have, in this deck, if you look at it, we have 97 cards that are permanents that this can hit. I think, oh no, sorry, there's 6 enchantments. It's only 91. My bad.
Yeah.
Like Braids really does a lot of work, and yeah, it's going to give our opponents the ability to put something in, but our opponents going to be playing dragons? Like, are they going to be benefiting as much from us? Like, who else is playing a giant tribal, right?
Right.
So the next 2 function pretty much the same, and it's really, really interesting with it. So with Clever Impersonator is the next one on the list. You have 2 double blue. You can have it enter as a copy of any non-land permanent on the battlefield. This is cheap, again, compared to Sakashima, because you can't hit legendary things, except with Miirym, you kind of can, because Miirym is whenever a non-token dragon enters, you get a copy that's not legendary. So your Clever Impersonator will come in as a copy of Miirym. It will die to the legend rule, but it will make a second not legendary Miirym, giving you like a Sakashima effect with the base level clones.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's really, really fun. So like I said, with Clever Impersonator, you just have a 399 Sakashima in the deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at worst case, it's just going to be another one of your good dragons.
Well, and the other ability too is like it can come in as anything on the battlefield. So if there's something else really good, like again, someone's like going silly with the draw deck and there's a Smothering Tides out, maybe you want a lot of treasure tokens, right? But for me,
you are playing a dragon deck, so yeah, you want to hoard a treasure.
Yeah, for me, I'm generally using these as, like I said, just a pseudo Sakashima for 4 mana at $4. Like, I didn't have to put a Sakashima in the deck, and that is what truly makes this like deck so budget friendly. You can use the next card on the list. We have Clone, just raw Clone. It is 35 cents, 3 and a blue. It enters as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. Same thing. Clone. Yeah, same thing. So we're able to, what you want to do in this deck is pump out as many Miirym's as you can, which is really, really fun. And no one is expecting you to, like I said, no one's really expecting that you're going to play these silly things and be like, yeah, my clone will die, but I'll still have a second Miirym. And then, like if you already have a clone one of them, like let's say you have 8 mana, again, just hypothetical. You have 8 mana, you have Clone and Clever Impersonator in hand. You play Miirym, you lose 1, but you still have 2 Miirym's. Then you play your Clever Impersonator on one of the clone Miirym's. You would get 3 more of those Miirym's, so you'd have like 5 Miirym's without any ETB stuff. It's a lot. It's a lot of Miirym's.
Gee, Christmas.
Yeah, so like it's really, really fun. Like it really does a lot, and being able to clone it so easy without needing Sakashima, it just really makes this deck go silly. Like Sakashima's so good, but 35 cent Sakashima's better.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
You want to take the next one?
Sure. We have Demanding Dragon, 3 double red for a 5/5 dragon with flying. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage to target opponent unless that player sacrifices a creature. I like it.
I love it.
Yeah.
And again, with You have Panharmonicon from the command zone because you get 2 of them. 2 and double body. So you've got, again, 10 mana, 5 damage, or double sacrifice. Sacrifices Zach's life.
Yep.
Yeah.
We stand sacrifices in this house.
He gets it. You want to take this one, Slotty?
Sure. Next up, we got Draconic Mirrylist, 3 and a green for a 4/3 Dragon Bard. When Draconic Mirrylist dies, you may search your library for a dragon card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle.
Gives you some targets in this deck, yep.
Yeah.
1 or 2. We have Dragonborn Champion as well, another really, really cool budget dragon. It's like $1.50 or something. It's 2/1 green, 1 red for a Dragon Warrior with 5/3 with trample. Whenever a source you control deals 5 or more damage to a player, draw a card, which is
okay.
A lot in this deck. Yeah, they're great. You got so much evasion built in with these flyers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm on a broken record at this point. If you cast this with Miirym out, every dragon basically hitting your opponents is draw 2.
Well, I just love that it's like trample too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No wings, but it'll stomp over your stuff.
It'll roll through you, yeah. I really, really, like I said, I like a lot of these cards. The next one's big, but I like it. Zach, you want this one?
Sure. We have Dragon Lord Atarka, 5 green and a red for a legendary creature, Elder Dragon, 8/8 with flying and trample. When Dragon Lord Atarka enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponent controls. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They go burr.
It does go burr. We've got our basic reduction, Dragon Lord Servant, 1 and a red for a Goblin Shaman, 1/3. Dragons are 1 less to cast. Very valuable to us.
I love this art so much.
How silly it is?
Yes.
Yeah. One second before you move on, read that flavor text because I think you'll enjoy it even more.
Atarka serving goblins coat themselves with grease imbued with noxious herbs, hoping to discourage their revenant matters from adding them to their meal.
Yeah, please don't eat me, Atarka, please.
That's so silly.
We've got another really basic one too. It's another boring one. Dragon Speaker Shaman, 1 double red for Human Barbarian Shaman, 2/2, and Dragon Spells are 2 less. Again, a staple in any dragon.
Yeah. And next up, we've got Drakuseth, Maw of Flames, 4 triple red for a 7/7 legendary creature dragon with flying. Whenever Drakuseth, Maw of Flames attacks, deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets.
Drakuseth is really, really scary.
Mm-hmm.
But what about when you get 2?
That's
both even scarier.
Yeah, they're both equally scary. Like you've compounded the scary. Next, we have Foe Razor Regent. We have 5 double green for another dragon, 4/5 flying. And when it enters the battlefield, you may have a fight target creature you don't control. And whenever a creature you control fights, put 2+1/1 counters on it at the beginning of the next end step. That's pretty solid. Pretty solid. Especially considering you're probably going to get 2.
Yep. The fight on it's pretty good. I generally like that one. This next one I really, really think is a cool dragon from the new set. 4 and a red for a 3/4 flying dragon. It's Ganex Astral Hunter. It has, when it or another dragon enters under your control, you create a treasure token.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good ramp.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really silly. Really, really silly.
Right?
Then next up, we've got Glasspool Mimic, 0/0 Shapeshifter Rogue for 2 and a blue. You may have Glasspool Mimic enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature you control, except it's a Shapeshifter Rogue in addition to its other types. And on the backside, it's got Glasspool Shore. Enters battlefield tapped, and you can tap it to add blue.
You're never playing Glasspool Shore in this deck.
No.
Nah.
Unless you're major out of mana, but still, even then, it's rough.
Yeah, even then, you're probably not going to do that.
Yeah, why would you? This next one also is kind of up your alley, Zach.
Yes, it is. We have Hellkite Tyrant, 4 double red for a 6/5 dragon with flying and trample. Whenever Hellkite Tyrant deals combat damage to a player, gain control of all artifacts that player controls. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 20 or more artifacts, you win the game. Fun fact, I have won many games with this card.
It's a great alternate win con.
Mm-hmm. I enjoy it a lot.
The ability to just take people's soul rings and stuff too is really funny. It's not until you lose this, it's just indefinite.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
We also have Inferno of the Star Mounts, 4 double red. For...
I'm sorry.
Please. Legendary creature dragon, 6/6, can't be countered with flying haste. So again, with your commander out, you've got 12 damage on 6 mana. Then you can pay 1 red, it gets 1/0 until end of turn. When its base, or when its power becomes 20 this way, it deals 20 damage to any target.
Of course you put this in there. I didn't see this one. I must have skimmed across.
It's a pretty cool dragon, and you have a lot. I put a lot of ramp into this deck.
I know you did. I've seen it.
It's got a lot of ramp, and like I said, even with your commander out, all of these dragons are basically like 12 body on a 6 cast. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh,
This is also super good dragon. You want this one, Slothy?
yeah. So this next one is Imrith Desert Doom. It's a 3 double blue for a 5/5 legendary creature dragon with flying. Imrith Desert Doom has ward 4 as long as it's untapped, and whenever Imrith deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. And if you have fewer than 3 cards in your hand, draw cards equal to the difference.
Yeah. This deck's awesome at refilling your hand.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
It needs a reliquary tower in the land slot for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been lucky to get Decanter in both games, but this next one is really, really cool when you have the ability to clone it out. It's Kyrie the Swirling Sky. 4 double blue for a 6/6 flying ward 3 dragon spirit. And these are the dies effects. So when Kyrie the Swirling Sky dies, choose one. Return any number of target non-land permanents with total mana value 6 or less to their owner's hand, or you mill 6 cards and return up to 2 instants and sorceries from your graveyard to your hand. In this deck, that doesn't matter at all. We are bouncing people's stuff with this. And with our commander out, we have, again, 2 6/6s that can bounce up to 12 CMC. That is pretty good at clearing out anything problematic on the board.
Yep.
Yeah, Kyrie puts in like a phenomenal amount of work and it's like a really, really cool blue dragon. I really like the design of all these dragons that die.
You and me both.
That's how good the other ones in this deck are. I just didn't have room for those ones, but this one you couldn't leave out.
No, it does something unique for dragons for sure.
Well, yeah, because I didn't put any removal in this deck. If you just have simply a better board state than me, I can't do anything. I got no destroy. Minus player destroy.
Well, I mean, I guess you can target with the damage.
Yeah, that's true. I do have a lot of damage things like the Dragon Tempest. A lot of time, like I said, when Dragon Tempest comes in, you're like getting like 3 dragons a cast. You're doing like 18 damage per dragon that enters it. It gets out of hand pretty quick. I was just bolting people's Land of War Elves with it at a certain point.
Of course you were.
Yeah. We have Corlessa next as the next one. I really like this Simic. They gave a lot of cool Simic dragons. Zach was saying as well earlier how much he likes the Simic ones. You want this one actually, Zach?
Yeah, it's Corlessa Scale Singer, green and a blue for a 1/4 legendary creature dragon bard. You may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may cast dragon spells from the top of your library. I'm going to build Simic dragons for sure. I like this card a lot.
Corlessa is awesome, and a 2-mana dragon is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a dragon bard, and like I love bards in D&D so much. Like I always play a high charisma based character, so I'm either a bard or a warlock, and I just love them so much.
I like that. Yeah, Corlessa just does something pretty cool. Like the ability to see what you've got going on the top deck is wicked. This would pair really well with Rashmi, like in the 99 of like a Corlessa deck.
Yep.
Yeah, like that would be awesome. And then you can cast dragon spells from the top of your library, also awesome. Like they really did some cool stuff with dragons in this set, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Not from this set, but silly. We have Lathliss Dragon Queen, 4 double red for a flying 6/6. Whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 5/5 red creature, red dragon with flying. So again, with your commander out, you get 2 of them, and then every time they enter, you get 2 dragons. It's pretty good. Pretty good. And then it has a silly ability that's 1 in the red dragons you control get 1 until turn. Don't even worry about that one.
Sure.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Fire. Yeah.
That's a kill on sight card for sure.
A lot of these are. The next one is a kill on sight card that you cannot leave alone. Sloth, you want this one?
Yeah. This next one is Lozon Dragon's Legacy. It's a 4/2 legendary creature dragon shaman for 3 blue and a red. It's got flying, and whenever you cast an adventure spell or a dragon spell, Lozon Dragon's Legacy deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to any target that isn't a commander.
Yeah, it's real good.
Wow.
It's real good.
Yep.
Yeah.
I at one point in one of my games I had 5 of these out. So every dragon cast was like 30 damage.
Jeez.
Okay.
Yeah, this bolt's better than most like fireball decks, like most like red burn decks.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Lozan is a really, really cool card.
Following up Lozan, we have Minion of the Mighty. It's 1 red for a 0/1 kobold, and it has Menace, and it has an ability called Pack Tactics. Whenever Minion of the Mighty attacks, if you attacked with creatures with total power 6 or greater this combat, you may put a dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Okay.
I like it.
All right.
So if you attack with this and a dragon, put a dragon on to the battlefield.
Yeah.
Seems fine.
Yeah, see.
The next one's surprisingly one of my favorite cards in this deck. It's Nimbleclaw Adept. It's 3 and a blue for a Dragon Wizard, 2/3, and it has Bigby's Hand. Tap it and untap 2 other target permanents. Activate only as a sorcery. So if you get one of these out with your commander, as I've said many times, having 2 of them is awesome. But if you have 2 of them out, you've spent 4 mana to be able to untap 4 permanents every turn, which is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And generally speaking, I'm using it to a lot of the times untap those like Orbs of Dragonkind because they just do so much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's awesome. If you put like a Firemind Vessel, could be really good in like a more budget friendly version of this deck, and that would be another like phenomenal thing to untap. Like any of the rocks that tap for more than 1 mana, like your Soul Rings, your Thran Dynamos, that kind of stuff. These are just awesome things. But I love the fact that you get like, you potentially have like two double untaps. It is nice that it's like balanced at sorcery, because I think that's way too strong. Someone goes to attack me, I untap 4 giant dragons.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, the next one is also one of my favorite cards. Slothy?
Yeah. Next one is Opportunistic Dragon. It's a 4/3 creature dragon for 2 double red with flying. When Opportunistic Dragon enters the battlefield, choose target human or artifact an opponent controls. For as long as Opportunistic Dragon remains on the battlefield, gain control of that permanent. It loses all abilities and it can attack or block.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool
Seems
place.
fine.
Seems fine.
Seems fine. Next, I'm taking this one.
Yeah.
Deal with it. We have Phyrexian Metamorph, 3 and Phyrexian blue, so you can either pay a blue or 2 life for a 0/0 artifact creature shapeshifter. You may have Phyrexian Metamorph enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact or creature on the battlefield, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Seems fine.
The next one I'm actually cutting from the deck because, I don't know, I cast it both times and didn't use any of its abilities. It was just, if you're not using its abilities, not that wonderful, but it's Prey Caesar Dragon. It's 4 double red for a 4/4 flying with Devour 2. When it attacks, it deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of 1/1 counters on it. I just didn't devour any of my dragons. I liked all of them.
That's fair.
So it's just a dragon spot that's a placeholder. Put something better in the deck.
The blue-green dragon.
Which one?
Tanzeri? Is that his name?
Oh, Tanazir, yeah.
Tanazir, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about putting him in. I got a bunch of those. Yeah, exactly. Tanazir would be great in that deck. Tanazir would be silly in that deck, to be honest.
Yes, it would be. I'm surprised it's not in here.
There was too many things. There was also the I meant to put in the red, like Atsushi, whatever it is, dragon. The red dies one from Kamigawa.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll cut that. Put Atsushi in the deck for this spot. Regardless, put a basic land in at this point. It really doesn't matter. You got a lot of dragons going on.
True.
Yeah, you take a go.
Pseudo Dragon Familiar is the next card on the list. It's 2 and a blue for a 2/1 dragon with flying. You can pay 2 and a blue and target creature gains flying until end of turn.
Yeah, just cheap dragon.
Yeah, that's fine.
Then we've got Rattleclaw Mystic, 1 and a green for a 2/1 human shaman. Tap it to add green, blue, or red to your mana pool. It's got morph for 2. And when Rattleclaw Mystic is turned face up, add a green, blue, and a red to your mana pool.
I like that. It's really cool morph ability.
Yeah, this card is so good.
Yeah.
The next one is possibly one of my favorite flavor texts in all of Magic right now. It's Reckless Barbarian. It's 1 and a red for a Dragon Barbarian 2/2, and it simply has Sacrifice Reckless Barbarian, add 2 red mana. And the flavor text is the best defense is not even knowing what the word defense means.
That reminds me a lot of my D&D group.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
This just reminds me how I play this deck. All aggression. 400 damage Atlanta Wars.
Speaking of aggression, we have Red Dragon, 4 double red for a 4/4 dragon with flying and has Fire Breath. When Red Dragon enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to each opponent. Okay, Dan.
Pretty good.
It's just an innocent dragon. Here's 12 damage.
The fact that like your commander functions, I say every time we can talk about it, every time, how much I love Panharmonicon. And your commander just functions, like I said, as a pseudo Panharmonicon. With actual Panharmonicon out, stuff like this is silly. Because you would get 3 of these who each trigger twice, so you'd have like 24 damage on enter.
Mm-hmm.
Bonkers. I love this card so much. That card being Panharmonicon. Oh, I gotta take the next one too. Panharmonicon is the best card in Magic. Renari, Merchant of Marvels, is an MVP in this deck. It's such a cool dragon. I love it. Can't get enough of it. I love the artwork of it. I love its cost. I love its effect. It's great. You have 3 and 1 blue for a Dragon Artificer 2/4. And you can cast dragon spells and artifacts as though they have flash, and it has choose a background, but you're not using that in this deck. Although if you're making the decks, if you are making like a Simic Dragon, this is like a good alternate commander like you were talking about.
Yep.
This and the Bahamut.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Savage Ventmaw for red and a green for a 4/4 dragon with flying. Whenever Savage Ventmaw attacks, add triple red, triple green. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end.
It's real good.
That card it blows my mind like this card got downshifted to uncommon because it's so good.
Was this a rare before?
Yeah.
I believe it. It's a good card.
I'm going to take the next one because I like it a lot.
Yeah.
We have Scaled Nurturer. It's 1 and a green for a Dragon Druid 02, and you can tap it to add a green. When you spend this mana to cast a dragon creature spell, you gain 2 life.
Early, it's really cool ramp. Late game, if you've got more than one of them on your casts, it's really good life gain. I like this card a lot.
Yeah, it's very neat.
It's really nice artwork too. Like I can't say that enough of like how much I like this new artwork that they did in the set. And again, this is a common, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Such a cool card. The next card may be the strongest dragon in the deck other than Miirym. Scourge of Valkus. It's 2 triple red for a flying 4/4. It has whenever it or another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, deals X damage to any target where X is the number of dragons you control.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, and so good to have copies of.
Yeah.
So good to have copies that... it's such a good card. Also, this next one's a really good board clear.
Yeah. Next one is Shockmaw Dragon for double red for a 4/4 with flying. It is a dragon. Whenever Shockmaw Dragon deals combat damage to a player, it deal 1 damage to each creature that player controls.
Yeah.
That's just going to wipe the board fairly quickly.
I just think this next one's pretty cool. Scanos.
Yeah.
I like the artwork. It's not the most slot efficient one, but I think it's neat. Scanos Dragonheart is 4 and a green for a 4/4 Dragon Ranger. When it attacks, it gets XX until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among other dragons you control and dragon cards in your graveyard.
Nice.
That's really solid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, like it's gonna get a +6 on attack because it's also looking in the graveyard. You're gonna get a 10/10 at 5 mana. It's pretty awesome. If you happen to get more, cool. But again, I think it's just a pretty solid little Dragon Ranger.
Yeah, this would be an interesting, like Voltron commander to build around.
Yeah, right.
Next, we have Skyline Despot. It's 5 double red for a 5/5 dragon with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you're not the monarch, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying.
If you are the monarch.
I'm sorry, if you are the monarch. If you're not, that's insane.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's cool. I like monarch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Next up, we've got Terror of Mount Velis, 5 double red for a 5/5 dragon with flying and double strike. When Terror of Mount Velis enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain double strike until end of turn.
Okay.
Yeah. Bonk.
I'm just gonna end the game, guys. This was fun.
Yeah, send everyone to bed with these. The next one, you want to talk about ending the game, Zach? The next one, please.
We have Thrakus the Butcher. Is 3 red and a green for a 3/4 dragon peasant. Generic creature. It has trample, and when it attacks, double the power of each dragon you control until end of turn. Whew.
You get 2 of them with your commander.
You do.
Double it.
Yeah.
Rise, dragon peasants, rise.
Jeez.
Oh man, I just the fact that I like cloning things too. That's like probably my third thing. So like making like tokens is like one of my favorite things in Magic, and making so many tokens. I just love this deck. The next one is a problem card that has to die but hurts to die. Thunderbreak Regent. You have 2 double red for a 4/4 dragon with flying. Whenever a dragon you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, Thunderbreak Regent deals 3 damage to that player. it's a real problematic card.
I was gonna say that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, and the more of them you make, the merrier. I was going to put Helm of the Host in this deck. It doesn't need it. It doesn't need it. You don't need you can go sillier than I did. You could put in like your doubling season, your Adrix and Nev, you don't need it. Trust me, you're going to be a problem already. It's silly. This deck really, really overperforms. It's I think the commander may be near Zaxara in like it does exactly what it's supposed to do too easily.
Yeah.
I love this deck so much.
I'm taking this next card because I actually really like it. We have Tyrant's Familiar. It's 5 double red for a dragon with flying and haste, and it's 5/5. It has Lieutenant. As long as you control your commander, which you're going to, Tyrant's Familiar gets +2/+2 and has whenever Tyrant's Familiar attacks, it deals 7 damage to target creature defending player controls.
Yeah.
Just gonna unintentionally commander damage people out of the game.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's a really good card. The next one is also, I don't know why they would print this. Don't know why they would print it. Don't know why it's a $2 card. Zach, please go ahead.
All right, we got Wrathful Red Dragon, 3 double red for a 5/5 dragon with flying. And whenever a dragon you control is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target that isn't a dragon. So I guess so long as you're not playing against a dragon, you're fine.
Can you imagine trying to Blasphemous Act the board and I have Renari out and I flash this and make 2 of these?
I love that.
It'd
Love it.
be so gross. Renari's so good. Yeah, Wrathful Red Dragon is just such a really, really cool card in this deck. And an any dragon deck, like I said, it's really, really good. We got 2 more that ends this list off, and then we'll talk a little bit about the silliness that is this deck. So I like the young cycle now, the young blue dragon. So there's like 1 of each color, but the one that we're talking about here is young blue dragon. 4 and a blue for a 3/3 dragon. It's just a normal flyer, but it also has Sand Augury as a sorcery on it. So it's 1 and a blue. You scry 1, then draw a card. So this is great early game to just kind of maybe try fix your mana base a little bit, get an early draw, like a 2 mana draw card early game with a scry is nothing. Late game, you're going to get a dragon out of it. So I like the utility that you get with this one a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then pretty much the same flavor text, like the same thing of I love the utility of this. We have young red dragon. It's 3 and a red for a 3/2 flyer. It can't block, but it has Bathe in Gold, which is an instant. 1 and a red, instant adventure, create a treasure token. So you can, again, cast both of these. Early game, get their effect. Late game, you can get them off. I just really, really like the ability to, someone thinks they've got like 2 turns. I know I'm holding a land in hand. I'm on 4 mana. They think, okay, he's not going to get it out now, so it's okay. Maybe I'll tap out. Then I can, get a Bathe in Gold off, get a treasure token before my turn starts, play my land. I've got 6 mana. It's really, really good. I like treasure token at instant speed.
Yeah, that's always super solid.
Yeah. Like I said, this deck, this is a shorter episode than most of ours because there's nothing really to like go in. There's a lot of time we've got like cool interactions of like why I didn't put it. It's just dragons. There's just dragons and you're making more dragons. There's nothing complex about this game. This is just a brainless beater deck, and I love it so much. Like, minus like knowing how like the clever impersonator clone things work, which is like a pretty easy rule to figure out. It's just straightforward, like smash your friends in the face with dragons.
Yeah.
It's mini Miirym Sentinels. That's the deck. Like, it's just I love this deck. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. I can't say enough good things about it. It's really fun. Try build this deck, like the budget version. Like I said, $146. What do you have to lose except $146?
Yeah.
And your friends. But
Great. Yeah, I like cloning a lot too. So like, This is a really cool deck. I would probably do something with this slightly similar or slightly different, I should say. And I would be going the route of what I typically like to do with stuff like that will change your creature types, like Xenograft and things like that, and putting creatures in the deck that aren't dragons to then make dragons.
Oh, a Maskwood Nexus in this deck is crazy.
Yeah. But I like what Dan's saying, because sometimes, like, and I'm not going to downplay, like, his deck is cool, but sometimes, like, just the more straightforward avenue is the better avenue, because, like, you're going to constantly have consistency in the deck, and you're going to be able to play the game every single time you sit down. You don't have to look for, your Maskwood Nexus to make sure you can, actually go off, or, any of your other spells that are going to change the creature types.
I love cool interactions and stuff, right? But at the same time, you could technically, nothing is stopping you from putting Zombniscience in the deck.
Yeah.
And like getting like like making like a zombie dragon tribal thing where you Zombniscience Maskwood Nexus so you can get them all out. Like you could do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of really weird things you can do. But like you said, I like the fact that it's just like more straightforward and dragons just go bonk.
Well, and like right now, I've been during COVID and stuff, a lot of new people started playing Magic, right? So I actually have like 5 or 6 like play groups that I'm playing with pretty regularly right now. And a lot of them have a new player or two. They don't really know quite what they're into yet. Like they're learning decks, right? Like we were all established. We all know I like doing X, Y, and Z. For me, it's Panharmonica on anything. But I love ETB so much. Not everyone knows what they want to play, right? So I really like having budget decks sleeved up that I can say like, hey, why don't you try this? And I think that I don't think there's many confusing things about this. It's just play dragons and you get copies of the dragon, and your dragon is harder to kill because it has ward.
Yeah.
You know? Like I said, I really, really like the deck. I think it performs really well, and it's super basic, but that's why back to what I was saying at the beginning, I think this is the best dragon commander they've printed. You don't have to have like a complex game plan with this. You don't have to. A lot of decks you really need like Quicksilver Amulets, Elvish Pipers to get these big dragons out quick, right?
Right.
And this just pays off the slow and steady, right? You're effectively doubling every turn what you would have been casting already, and you've got like a Sakashima effect, a Panharmonicon effect, kind of from the command zone. Like it's so cool.
Yeah, I really like it. I think this commander's sweet.
Yeah,
like I like what you've done with the deck.
Like I said, it may be one of the most simple decks I've like put together in a really long time, and I love it. I'm in love with how silly it is.
Hey, sometimes simple is fine.
Yeah, I built a lot of decks from the new set, too many decks, but this one, like I said, it was just really, really fun to play. It doesn't stall out. Like there's a lot of draw in this deck. Like a lot of things draw you. I think there's like something like 30, 38 or 39 dragons in the deck that'll trigger it. Like you've got a lot of cool stuff that you can do with the deck. I really like it.
Yeah, you get a thumbs up for me. This is cool.
Hooray. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's the whole episode. Like I said, very, very easy, simple dragon deck. There's going to be the budget version is a little different. It's barely different with the creatures and stuff, but like you do have a few different things. That's the land base that's mostly the difference, and then I took out some of like the more expensive artifacts. Like the artifact section in the budget one's like $20 cheaper. The creature section is $4 more for some reason. The land section is $2,500 cheaper. Yeah, I don't know. It's just fun. Just a fun deck.
I can see that.
Sleeve it up. A lot of you guys probably have most of these cards anyways. Like they're pretty like basic dragons that people probably have been collecting. And if you aren't a dragon travel player, maybe now's the time.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
As well, I will outright say the deck will be better if you put more instants and sorceries in the deck. Like you have access to the best colors for it, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to run some actual removal, maybe a cultivate in there. I build how I build, and this is how I built this one. Yeah, I don't know. That's my rant. I'm done. Zach, do you want to let them know where they can find our stuff? Oh yeah, tell me how you would have built this, and if I'm wrong. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. Zach, take it away.
Sure. Once again, thank you for coming and listening to us talk about dragons today. If you like what you hear, please think about giving us a 5-star review and leaving a review, just saying like whatever you think about the episode. If Dan was right or if Dan was wrong. You can go to instant99.com. That's your one-stop shop for all things Instant99, whether that be merch, articles written by the community, or access to our Discord, where we constantly are talking about Magic or getting games set up. Just everything you would need from us. And once again, check out abyssproxyshop.com with promo code IT99 to get all of your proxies that you would need.
Thanks so much for tuning in, and yeah, try set the record for how many Mirryms you can make, and then let me know.